My name is Oliver Elm, and I was the narrative lead for the Gunk.
Hi, I'm Peter Broqvist. I was narrative director for the Gunk.
So where did the idea for the story for this game come from?
It sort of organically grew out of a lot of different prototypes. Usually at Image and Form and now Thunderful, then our team has always started at the design level, and then I've sort of tried to find themes in the design, and I based the story from that. And so with the absorbing action of the Gunk, we felt like it's a cleaning game, and cleaning the environment seems like a fit. And then the characters are a lot of back and forth between like me and the art director and stuff like that, just feeding off each other. And the whole team is really involved in all aspects of the game, usually.
Speaking of the characters, one thing I really liked was you talking about how they sort of represented different parts of you.
Yeah.
And we talked a lot during the development of like, you're being such a Ronnie right now. No, you're being such a Bex, because they kind of have two different ways of approaching issues and dealing with things. And, which at least I often noted that I could very much relate to both of their sort of views. We had a lot of fun with that during the development.
Yeah. It was a bit of flipping back and forth on the personalities early on in the game.
Yeah.
Especially in the earlier prototypes when we had like different sort of mechanics, there was a different story attached to that. But it's usually how I started, at least, just finding the themes and finding something that fit. And both me and Ulf, our game director, we're both quite a bit into Miyazaki, so that was a really strong inspiration for the start of it, to get a bit of that Miyazaki feel.
Like you said, it's a cleaning game. How much Mario Sunshine did you guys play as kids?
Me, not a lot actually. I think Ulf played it more though, but that was sort of. I don't think that the mechanics was such a was influenced so strongly by something else. It just, we happened upon it in a lot of other mechanics we tried. We had like the character transforming into a ball and rolling around the level. We had like the power arm that like shooting stuff. We had both absorbing and like shooting wind gusts out of the power glove at some time, and just a lot of back and forth with prototyping, trying to find some mechanic that felt like novel. And we wanted the game to feel sort of relaxing too, not too action oriented, but more exploring and seeing this world regrow. It's more of the basic component that we honed in on for the Gunk.
You talk about the two main characters you'll be interacting with in the game, and you also have some additional should call them like mechanically inclined characters as well.
So it was conceived as a trio of characters from the get-go, I think, the team, and of course the scope was bigger at the start, as it always is, and we want more interaction between the characters. And but like Oliver stated before, it's just that finding these different personality types that work great with the concept and the design, and having them polarized from each other, so we can get some conflict in there, because that was really the main focus for us, that the character relationship. I sort of thought about it as a breakup story at first, having them they were a bit older the first iteration, but in discussion with Jessica, our writer, we skewed them younger, just to have a more idealized version of the relationship they wanted, and then them hitting against a wall where that doesn't work anymore. You've been together for a few years and everything has gone fine, and you've hit your first bump, and now you don't know how to handle it. So both of them are pretty quiet. They don't know how to discuss their feelings with each other, and that gives ramifications to their relationship, and they have to find some sort of way out of it, a new path where they start to listen to each other.
You also have a robot named Clark, right? Is that what it stands for? It's an it's an acronym, right?
Yeah, precisely. He's a former delivery robot that back on Earth, or the big trawler ship that are out collecting energy out in the galaxy. In this universe, he's been just a delivery robot for the factory floor, delivering hot food, and they've purchased him cheap and refitted him to do various chores.
I like that in earlier versions of the game he was more of a parental figure. It was actually called the dad bot, or like the working name, because he was supposed to be a sort of a third, more of a character than what he is now. Now he's more a mascot-y. And to have that included in the main plot of a parental. I remember you talking about like your own parental feelings being included, but I'm happy where we ended up as well.
Yeah. It's a simplified version, but he was more. Dadbot was the working name for that character. Just he cleans up after them, and they take him for granted all the time. And we had this subplot about them taking him for granted and like sort of getting over that too, and growing up as individuals, also in relationship to that robot, because they don't really have a parental figure in their life.
Now, how do you guys work with the other teams over there when you're trying to tell a story through the gameplay? I know sometimes that can be difficult because you don't want it to be too linear. You want to have a little exploration there, but at the same time, you do have to tell a concise story with a 3-act structure, a problem, all those things, characters.
My education in writing is really it's TV and movies, so it's very linear from where I come from, but then I've had to learn a lot about game design doing this work for a few years, and a lot of the starting discussions around the level was really, I wrote up a quick synopsis for the whole story, and that morphed a lot during the design changes, because when design changes, I want to check does the theme make sense anymore, or do I need to change it? And so I tried to keep the story quite loose at the start and not go into too many details. We got a little bit of world building, stuff like that, but trying to just have it a few pages of a story so that we can keep it concise. And then when we get into the levels, and there's a lot of like production stuff around that too. How many levels can we make with it during the time we have, and sort of base like chapter structure on that too, so that this is a level, so I want some sort of break here, take the story in another direction here, and sort of like basically I think about it like when it comes to story, there's you've got a character, they want something, that's the basic parts of it, and that's not so far from gameplay. You've got a character and they want something, and then stuff gets in the way. So I try to link up the story with that. What are the obstacles that get in the character's way, and can I sync that with what the player is doing with the character? And the hard part is always figuring out what the player wants to do and try to not go against that. And we had these sessions over like Google Jamboard with level designers primarily. The game designers made the basic mechanics, and then we started throwing that stuff at levels. And so we sat up, just drew up a map on a Jamboard, and I started to post-it notes around the level. This is where I think this should happen, and this is where I think this should happen, and we sort of try to sync with each other at an early paper stage from the start, and then everything changes and we have to do everything all over again. And
that feels like one of the main things about the implementation part of this game towards the end, that we really wanted the characters to talk about what happens in the game, what are they doing often, to have this dialogue between them going, and especially that we have a lot of ideas very early of what we want to do, but the actual levels will often change very late. But we really managed during the 11th hour, kind of, we actually did manage to get in custom dialogue for the actual levels, which felt very uncertain if we were going to be able to get in. But I'm very happy with what we managed.
Yeah.
You want the characters to remark on, like, both to hint to the player what they should do, but also to make it feel like you're there and you're involved and you're immersed.
Yeah, and with the Gunk, we also we wanted that, like, almost constant dialogue over the radio with these two characters to just they're close friends, and we wanted to make that like as obvious as possible, and they should have a rapport with each other, and they should make the like grating parts of each other tolerable. Because I think if we only had one of these characters, I think they would be horrible to follow. It's really how they play off each other that makes it work. Especially like our side character Bex is just she's so grumpy. I like her. She's very much a part of me. But she's a bit too cynical, and I think a whole game with her would not be as much fun. Like Rani, and especially like Fiona. Fiona Nova, who does the voice for Rani, like brought a special kind of joy to the character. She's just very happy-go-lucky, and that works so good against Beck's cynical side.
Yes, I think Abigail Turner, who did Bex, she really managed to portray the cynical, kind of grumpy, kind of douchey Bex energy, but still with it was very clear about the emotional core of that character, and the care for Ronnie was still there in the same way that Fiona made Ronnie with this happy-go-lucky, joyful character, but still very human and real. Not that we wanted them to feel like real people and not cartoon characters, and I'm very happy with what we ended up with.
And also like using Abigail's like Bex to hang a lantern on Rani's like bad behavior, being on an alien planet, and like taking off your mask without checking the air first, stupid things like no, don't do it, and you sort of have like the character of Bex commenting on no, you don't do it. It's just being the cynical view of the player to sort of an audience view on Rani's behavior. So there's a lot of that back and forth that we've focused on for this one.
Yeah, talk about these characters, because I mean, I've only played the game for about 15 minutes, but in that 15 minutes I learned a lot about the crew, their mission, this world that they come from. You know, they're flying a ship, they're looking for energy so they can harvest it and resell it. You know, one of the main characters lost her arm in a mining accident that her friend freed her from. So you get a lot of this really deep, like you said, with that chit chat, with the radio chatter. A lot of things that somebody might make a cutscene in, or might have a specific level to throw back that. You mentioned you did get custom voice work for certain levels. Can you talk about that process of like how you use that radio, talk about the characters, and then talk about how you use that chit chat radio to invest in these characters and learn their history, rather than doing like a cutscene, or in some cases like in big AAA games, like a flashback level that shows everything.
Yeah, really a lot of it comes down to like budget. Especially since we start with the design, a lot of like the narrative stuff we do is trying to make sense of things, trying to make it cohesive, like mesh the art style with the design. Sometimes if the design is a bit more cartoony and the art design is perhaps a bit grittier, sort of use the narrative as like a glue to get it all into a cohesive mass. So the budgetary reasons is just we need to do it through voice. In like I've written for the Steamworld games, most of them, and a lot of that's not voice acting, but still we need to do a lot of things with text, because we can't do it like a big AAA production version of it. And sometimes I even think it works better because you don't take like the gameplay away from the player. It happens along the way instead, and you can focus on the gameplay. And that was also the reason that we wanted to do voice acting for this game instead of text boxes, because text boxes you have to sort of pause the game and let the player read it, and a lot of people will just bash through it anyway, while with the voice acting you can sort of get an osmosis of just the information. and we just wanted to like pepper in the backstory and not focus on, well, what does the Earth look like? What are these big like corporate ships out in space? And just have.
It's not important. Yeah, that's not what the story's about.
It's not important, since we wanted to focus on the relationship arc more. Like the B plot of the story was our like main plot. So the basic plot of it is mainly there to get the breaks, and the character arc is the important stuff. And then the voice acting came in as a really important tool for us to just have that in the background at all times. And just, yeah, like I sort of like when movies do that too, and it's just an offhand comment on something that happened, and then we don't go into it, and you get like, oh wow, how did that, what does that mean? And then like 20 years later, it's all of us get, you get the movie about that, and it's usually not very good.
You calling it now, 20 years later, the Gunk, the movie?
The Gunk prequel movie.
Yeah.
What's funny is there's an American movie called The Stuff. I don't know if you've ever heard of this movie, but it's a horror movie where people eat this food that someone found on a planet, and then like it makes them explode. And I just thought about the Gunk, the Stuff, and it's both gunky things that explode that are bad.
Maybe you just gave us the idea for the Gunk too.
Mm-hmm.
We'll somehow turn it into a game about this movie. But
So
as for the characters, I think they're kind of classic, like a red character and a blue character.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
the cynical, dry character, and the funny, the more fun. passionate
Yeah, the
character.
original Odd Couple. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
The,
And that
the
was
SpongeBob and the Squidward.
yeah, and that was a bit of the challenge too, to get like these typical type characters, to polarize them and still make it obvious that they're friends. They've been friends for a few years, and they're extremely close. And why would they be close? Why don't they just leave each other? What is like the trap keeping them together, and just pulling that thread of friendship? What is friendship? Why are people friends at all, especially through hard times?
Something we'll maybe find out why as we play the game. Obviously, the debt that she may owe the captain, though that she's like being called the captain, but
yeah, exactly. Jokingly, because they are in it together, and that's also I think the core of like Rani's issues through this story, that she has depended on Bex for far too long to make the decisions, and she is more of a child. And sort of we talked about the theme of responsibility, and that sometimes, I mean, Bex is the responsible person in their relationship, and Rani is like the childish one that just jumps in and tries stuff. That's probably why she lost her arm in the first place, not being careful. But then there are different types of responsibility, where like when we come to the like more ecological theme of it, what are we as humans, what are our responsibilities towards the planet we're on? Can we be too responsible? Like, can we be too careful in making like rash decisions, when we perhaps should make rash decisions instead? We need to change stuff, we need to do it now. We don't have time to think everything through for too long either. We need to do something, and being too careful and thinking things through too much is not always a good thing. It's a hard note to hit, because I also think I see a lot of movies that do that. That they like, it's the hero story where the hero has to solve the issue in the end, and a lot of times it's just, no, you should probably take a step back and let the authorities handle this. You're not competent enough. Like the one hero myth. With this, I sort of still wanted to push that, and there is an issue though, balancing that with, it's like we're trying to just make stuff right in our brain, and that, I feel like I'm doing my part, but is my part really the thing that's missing? Do I really have any power to change stuff? So that's where like the main bad guy comes in, and he's pushing that narrative that there's really someone else with the power, and it's them that really need to make change. But what we have as individuals is try to push that change, to not accept stuff.
Yeah, I liked that. Speaking of the whole taking responsibility theme that follows mainly Ronnie, but Bex as well. I like that it's a very much becoming an adult story too, and taking a stand for what you truly deciding that no, I truly believe that this is what I am going to take a stand for, even if like the journey there can be difficult. And I think I really like the arc we managed to end up with.
Yeah,